Hi everyone, it's Librarian Faith from the Mandel Public Library of West Palm Beach. And today, I'm going to show you how to make hanging mini planters using cement and string. Let's get started, shall we? You'll need a few things to do this craft. First, you'll need a bowl to mix your cement and your water in. You'll need a pair of gloves to keep your hands safe while you're mixing. Some silicone molds in the shape of pots. You want to make sure they're silicone because if you use too sturdy of a bowl, you're just going to make a fancy rock. I speak from experience. You'll also need some yarn or twine to make the hangers for your little pots, and some beads as accessories, along with a pair of scissors. To make our concrete mixture, you're going to want to use about a 4:1 ratio of the concrete mix to water. Make sure you wear your gloves for this part. Here we go. This is about the right kind of consistency. Then you'll take your silicone molds and scoop the concrete right inside. Tap it on the table to make sure you get all the air bubbles out. And there we go. Let's do the second one. And there we go. Well, you'll need to let them sit for about a day or two to make sure they get fully dry. And be sure to throw away your gloves. Don't try to wash this down the sink. After these dry, they'll end up looking like this. Now that we have our concrete cylinders out of the mold, dried and ready to go, we can go ahead and turn them into our little hanging planters. The first thing you'll want to do is measure out 6 to 8, I recommend 8, long pieces of twine or string or cording, whatever you have available. I'm going to use this pretty green color. The length will depend on where you want to hang these from and how long you want the hangers to be, but I'm going to measure out about a 24-inch strip of cording. Now let's switch to a pretty pink for the other 4 strips of twine. You don't have to do alternating colors, but I find it makes the next part a little bit easier. And there's just enough. So then you'll take your yarn or your twine or whatever you have and tie it in just a regular old knot towards the bottom of one of the ends. Make sure you pull it tight. It should look like this. Then split the cording so that you have 4 strands, 2 of each color on one side and 4 on the other. I usually like to split it into 4s again, or in half again, so that you have the 4 sections fully laid out. And then put a dab of hot glue right in the middle. And stick it on the middle and the bottom of your concrete cylinder. And just hold it there for a little bit while it cools. This helps with keeping everything steady and the string where you want it to be. Now we have our 4 sections laid out. You'll want to take 1 from each. I like doing alternating colors. Tie a knot going to just above the lip, like this. And then tie it again. Try to get it even, this part even, and pull it tight. And then rotate. And do it again. Right above the lip. I'm going to undo this because you see here, the green is way longer than the pink, and that'll mess us up later on. It helps if you have everything nice and straight the other side so you can make sure you're doing it at even intervals. We're going to do 4 groups of 2. So now we're going to take 1 from each of these 2 and repeat that process. I have a green and a pink. Make sure these 2 are even. Tie a double knot and I'll pull it tight. We'll want to keep doing this until you have 3 rows of knots. Now that we have everything flat and organized, we're going to go ahead and do that last round of knots. And there we have it, our little hanging basket. You can definitely see I did kind of a bad job with making sure they alternate. These 2 are fully pink and fully green, while these 2 are alternating, so that's not ideal. If you're a perfectionist, I would recommend undoing the knots and trying again, but I don't mind so much just for me. I have a feeling I'm gonna hang these on my wall, so I can just put the 2 that are the same towards the back, and nobody will notice, and it'll be fine. Now for the fun part, adding the plants. This is my favorite part. One thing to keep in mind is that the silicone molds I use don't include a drainage hole, so I'm going to use some little mini cacti that I got from a local gardening center and put them in the middle. Since it doesn't have a drainage hole, do not overwater these plants, just an occasional spritz. For these hanging planters, if you'd like, instead of tying knots, you can put these beads or any other kind of beads in their place. I like the knots though, they're a little bit more secure. Plus, most beads have a very rounded edge and that can roll against the concrete in a way that's, again, not very secure. But to pot our little mini planters, you want to put a little bit of dirt down at the bottom and then unpot your itty bitty little succulent. They're just adorable. And there we go. Now this one's a little bit overly wet, but I did just purchase it and it was raining outside, so that's why. Make sure you break up the little roots a little bit. I'll make sure they're able to continue growing down. And just pop that little guy right in. And be sure to tap down around the edges. I have this one completed. We'll do the same process on this one. A little bit of dirt down in the bottom. Hold the plant firmly but gently by the stems. Turn it upside down. Squeeze the little pot. Wiggle and pull gently. Break up the roots a little bit. Since these are very tiny and very delicate, make sure you're also delicate when breaking up the roots. You just want to make sure that they know they can grow down and not just continually in a circle. And then pop him right in our little holder. Since these are succulents, they're pretty low maintenance. Try to hang them up in a space with lots of sunlight. And again, water infrequently. Succulents don't need a ton of water, and these ones especially, since I bought them when it was raining outside. They're already pretty well soaked. But since they're so tiny, you can even get some of the stronger command hooks and use those to hang them up around your house. They'll be perfectly content hanging out. I hope you enjoyed making these mini planters with me. Be sure to tune in next week for my next craft. And until then, happy reading!